Imagine wandering through the bustling city of Geoje, South Korea, a place known for its massive shipyards and scenic coastline. As you weave through the streets, your eyes drift to a hilltop overlooking the city. There, half hidden by trees and overgrown bush, stands the skeletal remains of an amusement park. A rusting Ferris wheel looms over the landscape. Bumper cars sit frozen in time, and most chilling of all, a duck-shaped roller coaster car dangles from its track, as if the ride stopped mid-scream. You've just discovered the remains of a theme park abandoned so suddenly, it might as well have been a ghost story. We're diving into the chilling history of Okpo Land, South Korea's most infamous abandoned theme park. But before we get into our first episode of the Lost Attractions series, I want to tell you about our channel memberships. We already have a number of members-only videos posted, but we plan to post several more, at least once a month, going forward. So if you want to check those out, just click the link in the description for this video. Alright, back to the story. Unlike most defunct parks, which slowly faded due to financial struggles or changing tastes, Okpo Land was left to rot overnight, its owner vanishing without a trace, after a tragedy so gruesome that the park was shut down on the spot. If you've never heard of Okpo Land, you're not alone. It wasn't exactly Disneyland Korea, not even close. Built sometime in the 1980s, the park was a modest hilltop attraction. At first, it looked like any other small-town amusement park. There were classic carnival-style rides, a Viking ship, a Ferris wheel, bumper cars, and a handful of children's attractions. It was the kind of place where families could spend an afternoon, grab some street food, and enjoy a few simple thrills. But the park's main attraction, and later its most infamous feature, was the duck-themed roller coaster, a small ride that wound around the park's hillside terrain in cheerful cars shaped like ducks. It was meant to be a lighthearted family coaster, but instead it became the park's darkest legend. By the mid-1990s, whispers of strange accidents began circulating. Details were scarce, but some locals claimed that a young girl had died on the duck coaster. Whether she fell from the ride, was thrown from a malfunctioning car, or suffered a restraint failure remains unclear, because Okpo Land's owner never acknowledged the incident. No safety changes were made, no news stories ran, and most unsettling of all, the ride continued operating as if nothing had happened. This wasn't an era of strict theme park regulations, especially for smaller parks. If a tragic accident happened at a major park like Everland or Lottie World, there would have been public outcry and investigations. But Okpo Land, it was a local privately run attraction, where oversight was minimal and the owner had the final say. So despite the growing unease, families kept visiting, children kept riding the duck coaster, and Okpo Land kept running. Then in 1999, everything changed. The second and final accident on the duck coaster was far more horrific than the first. One night in 1999, a car derailed mid-ride, sending one of its passengers plummeting to their death. But the horror didn't stop there. The car didn't fall completely off the track. Instead, it tilted dangerously off the rails, leaving it suspended in midair, frozen in a moment of disaster. Unlike before, there was no covering this up. Guests and employees witnessed the accident firsthand, and the park shut down that very night. By morning, Okpo Land was abandoned. The Ferris wheel sat motionless, the bumper cars gathered dust, and most eerily, the derailed duck coaster car was left exactly where it had stopped, dangling from the track. A ghastly reminder of what had happened. The most bizarre part of Okpo Land's closure isn't just the sudden shutdown, it's what happened next. Or rather, what didn't happen. There was no public statement from the park's owner, there was no investigation, no lawsuits, no official explanation. The owner of Okpo Land simply vanished. To this day, no one knows exactly where they went or what happened behind the scenes. All that was left was the park itself, frozen in time, waiting for answers that never came. With Okpo Land abandoned, It didn't take long for it to become a magnet for urban explorers. Over the years, thrill seekers and photographers snuck into the crumbling park, capturing haunting images of its decaying rides and forgotten pathways. But it wasn't just the eerie setting that drew people in. It was the stories. Some visitors claimed to hear the distant clatter of the duck coaster's chain lift, even though the ride hadn't moved in years. Others swore they saw a shadowy figure standing near the derailed coaster car, watching them from a distance. For more than a decade, Okpo Land remained a real-life horror movie set. But by 2011, the story finally reached its inevitable conclusion. That year, the entire park was demolished, making way for new development. Today, there's sadly nothing left of Okpo Land. No coaster tracks, no Ferris wheel, no haunted duck cars. But even though the physical park is gone, the mystery remains. Why was the duck coaster left untouched after the incident? Why did the owner flee, and where did they go? How did the park operate for so long despite its safety concerns? There are no answers, only speculation, rumors, and eerie photographs. Unlike other lost attractions, Okpo Land wasn't forgotten. It became a legend. For those who grew up in Geoje, it remains a childhood memory turned nightmare. For urban explorers, it was a bucket list destination before its demolition. And for horror fans, it's one of the most unsettling real-life theme park stories ever told. If you ever find yourself in Geoje, you won't find Okpo Land anywhere. But if you stand on that quiet hillside where the park once stood, listen carefully. If the time is just right, you can still hear the faint clanking of the duck car hanging from a roller coaster that no longer exists.